Hey, it's Colin, and you are listening to the Expert Edge podcast. I was a professional speaker for over a decade, and now I focus on helping coaches, speakers, and course creators to speak and sell on virtual and live stages. The Expert Edge podcast is weekly content focused on helping you build your expert business. We cover marketing, storytelling, sales, communication skills, and so much more. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. So, hey, and welcome back to the Expert Edge. We have got a killer episode today. I was thinking about what should I talk about, and one of the things that has just been fundamental in my business, in growing my business, has been some productivity hacks that have stayed with me. And I want to share with you 5 productivity hacks that I think are really powerful to have as a coach, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You need to have these in your life and in your business, because if you don't, you're going to be less productive. You're going to be slow with your work. You're going to be getting distracted and really feeling like you're behind all the time. But when you've got these productivity hacks in place, it makes a huge difference. You're going to feel like you've got an unfair advantage with getting ahead with all your projects and serving your clients and growing your business. And so that's the conversation I want to have today. So let's talk about how we can be more productive as a coach. I think one of the challenges as a coach, especially if you're starting out, is you don't have much support. Right. A lot of the time it's kind of a one-man band. Maybe you might have one employee, which, by the way, is a massive productivity gain once you start actually hiring people. But I think a lot of the time, it's like you're a one-man band. I know I was that for, a good year or so in my first coaching business. We've got about 6 staff now. But at the time, there's a lot of challenges. You get distracted a lot. You're getting pulled every which way. You're trying to look for ways to make money, but also service your clients. So you feel like you're kind of running from one side of the table to the other. And so I want to share with you a few productivity hacks that have stuck with me over the years, over the last 15 years of building our multi-million dollar coaching business. There are a few productivity hacks that I still use to this day that make an absolute huge difference. And so I want to take you through kind of a few of those productivity hacks, how they kind of work in my business. So the first one, are you ready for this? The first big productivity hack is realizing that as an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss, right? You don't have a boss. And so you have to make something your boss. And your boss is your calendar. So I want you to think about your calendar as your new boss. And so what you need to do is, what comes to mind is I think about some of our students, and they might say to me, Colin, especially at our Sell From Stage Academy level, right? People who are just starting out with their first webinar, their first presentation, they're like, Colin, I really want to run my first virtual event or first webinar. And they're like, what's the best way to do that? And I'll usually say to them, the best way to do that is to put the date you're running that webinar in your calendar, and as fast as you can, get 1 or 2 people registered for that webinar. Because as soon as you put it in your calendar and then also get some, like a prospect or 2 registered for that event, all of a sudden, what do you have to do? You have to deliver it, right? And so the reason why people put things off is because they don't have inbuilt accountability and inbuilt calendar systems into their life. And so this thing has completely changed, revolutionized my life. Is like when I put it in the calendar, it's done, right? And so that's the time I'm dedicating to it. And so working on my calendar, getting my calendar working for me, or basically making my calendar my boss, that has completely changed my life. So scheduling in really important activities, might be preparation activities, scheduling in masterclasses that we run for our Sell From Stage Elite program, scheduling in preparation time for those masterclasses or for those launches, scheduling in when I'm running my webinar, when I'm running my conversion event, all that sort of stuff, right? Getting that stuff on the schedule changes everything, because really when it comes down to it, you don't have a boss. And when you don't have a boss, you have to make something else your boss, and your calendar is your boss. And so that for me has stuck with me over the years, and it's been a huge productivity hack for me running my business. The second one, and this one is one of my favorite ways to be productive, is what's called a sprint. Now, a sprint has three things in it. It has a very specific task. So what you want to do is you want to think about your day not as one long marathon of, let's say you're working 9 till 5 or 9 till 3 or something like that. I usually work kind of 9 till 3:30, 9 till 4. My wife might disagree, say I work longer, but in my head I kind of work 9 till 4. But essentially, I don't see as my day as being 9 till 4. I see my day as being short little sprints throughout the day, and then I take little breaks in between. And so what I mean by that is I think about what are my most important tasks. Like even right now, I'm recording a podcast, right, for you. And so that's kind of a sprint for me. That's a short sprint. It will usually take me an hour to come up with the idea, create the podcast, and then record the podcast, right? It's about an hour per podcast. And so it is a very specific and important task. So what I do is I actually write that down. In fact, if you end up watching the video of this, there's a thing called a daily output booster, which I'll talk about in a minute. But basically, I write down the 5 things that I'm going to do that day, and I put it on my daily output booster, right? And so then it's really, and I can see number 2 here is write and record 2 podcasts. I'm doing 2 podcasts today. But getting really clear on your specific task is important. Many of you have got vague tasks. You don't like, you kind of, you'll say like, do a podcast, but you get really specific, and I'll say, record a podcast on this topic, right? And so I even have the name of the topic. It just helps with your brain to actually action it. That's the first element of a sprint. The second element of a sprint is a distraction-free environment. In fact, just now, I just asked my wife if we could shut the doors to my, office. I turn off all notifications. My phone is on, airplane mode. Like I do kind of all the things that are basically going to shut off any distractions. There's no pop-ups happening on my calendars. There's no pop-ups happening on my computer. Like everything's out because your brain is designed to be distracted. So the best way is to work with it. So what you do is you shut off all distractions, all right? And then the third element of a sprint is you have a set time frame. And so for me, usually about anywhere between 30 minutes up to about an hour and 20 is a good time frame. And so I literally set a timer on my clock, like on my phone, as a time to work to, and then the alarm goes off. This is really good if you want to do a task that's high value, but you don't like doing it. Like, maybe there's some sort of task that you have to do, but you don't like doing it. And so set a timer, just set like a 30-minute timer or a 40-minute timer and say, I'm going to allocate to this specific task 40 minutes. I'm going to have no distractions. And then the timer goes off and you end up producing incredible work. This sprinting idea changed my life. And so I like to do anywhere between 2 to 3 of those per day. If I can get 3 in per day, really productive day. That's the second thing, is sprinting. The third thing is at the start of each day, I write down very specific tasks that I want to be focused on. In fact, I use, which I mentioned before, this thing called the Daily Output Booster. And I've been using this sheet. I've been using it for like probably 8 years, 9 years. And I built the sheet. I created the sheet, and I created it from a program because I don't know if you remember, you may be an OG listener, but I used to teach productivity. That actually used to be my main course. I had a program called Productivity Academy. And this sheet changed my life, and I started teaching it in the Productivity Academy, and it changed my clients' lives. If you want access to that sheet, I'll give it to you for free. If you just go to dailyoutputbooster.com, just type that in, dailyoutputbooster.com, you can grab it for free. Download it, print it out. I print out like 5 a week, right? And there's something about physically writing on a document that makes it powerful. And so I also have a meetings book and like a tasks, like an execution book. We use Asana as well. Like we use kind of project management stuff. But for me, each day, I personally, even if it's on my Asana list and it's in my calendar, so even if it's a thing in my calendar, I still write it down on my daily output booster as something I'm going to do today. And I write it out really specifically. I use the verb test. It's called the verb test. The verb test is basically, you write an action word, then you write the description. So instead of just writing the word, podcast, you would write record podcast 230. What's this one? 232 is episode 232. How crazy is that? 232. Record episode 232 about productivity hacks for coaches, right? I'll write that down in full. Then I also write on my daily output booster how long it's going to take. I wrote 60 minutes. And then I also write what order or the priority of it during the day. And for me, this is number 2. So this is the second thing on my list of priority. And when I do that and I order it in 1 to 5, it makes it really clear for my brain, easy to organize and easy to action. So you should only think hard once and then execute through the rest of the day. And so that is what I do. I don't start my day. I feel really scattered if I don't have one of these. Daily Output Booster, physical copy of it in paper. I know the people who are loving the environment, which is me as well, but who don't like printing paper. You're going to hate me for that. But I just love it. I love printing paper. I love saving the environment. I pick up trash, just so you know. But printing a physical document changes my life, right? So print it out if you can and write on it. Go to dailyoutputbooster.com. You can grab it for free, right? Go and grab that right now, even as you're listening to the podcast. Grab it on your phone if you're walking, or not if you're driving, but if you're walking, go and grab it right now. The first big idea, let's do a quick review. First big idea, your calendar is your boss, right? Schedule it in. If you don't have a boss, that's your boss. Second thing, sprint. We talked about those 3 things: specific task, distraction-free environment, and a limited time frame. Number 3, write the 5 most important tasks down. That's number 3. And that, for me, is the Daily Output Booster. It's simply done through the Daily Output Booster. So definitely go and grab that. Number 4, this is a big one. If you haven't hired people yet, having systems and automations in place is one of my favorite things to have. Even though I'm naturally not a systems person, I am obsessed about systems, because systems are the business. And so when you think about it, if an employee leaves your business, if you don't have the systems documented and the structures and processes documented, it's a lot more difficult to replace that role. But if those systems are documented, then it's just easier for someone to come in. And obviously they need to bring their own personality and style and skills and super skills. But when you have systems, it just has a base. So it just creates stability and certainty in your business. And so having little systems in place and little kind of processes are really important. One of my favorite little tools, it's called Text Expander. Now, I use it all the time, Text Expander. I have to have a look who it's by. I'm just kind of looking at it now. But basically, I think it's by Tidbits, I think. Text Expander is a little tool that I use. I use it all the time. And basically, all the phrases that you use all the time, like writing out your website, writing out your name, writing out your account number, writing out your email, writing out your assistant's email, writing out, your EIN number, whatever it is, right? Writing out all this stuff. I put it in a text expander, and I have all these little shortcuts. So I'm just like shortcut to the 9. I've got so many shortcuts happening, but it allows me to respond to things really quickly. So having Text Expander helps a lot. That's a little like tech tool. But having systems, and that really only works on a desktop, by the way, it's not really on a mobile, but on a desktop, I use that all the time. But just having systems in place, we use, in terms of systems, I've used all different system platforms. Some of them are really expensive. I don't think they're necessarily worth it. What we use is Google Sites. So if you've got a Google Suite platform, we've built our own Google site. It's pretty easy. You just create a Google site within your Google Suite, right? It'll sit within your organization. And we have a whole list of like structures of all the different basically all the different departments for our business. And what happens is I'm just clicking on it right now on my computer to bring it up. And basically it's all our SOPs. And so essentially we've got a home, and then we've got all the different programs like Self from Sage Elite, Academy, all of our mini courses. Then I've got private clients, I've got Expert Edge, I've got content creation, I've got web security and web design. I've got finance, marketing, customer experience, customer service, general operations. I've got all of these listed down the left-hand side. And if I click on them, it brings up all of the different processes, structures, systems for that particular area. And it has all our goals in there. It has all sorts of cool stuff in there. So that for me has been a huge, important part of our business, having these systems in place. It really kind of like helps us to have things really clear and elegant and laid out and all that sort of stuff. So I would say having systems in place is huge. Now I'm getting distracted by my systems as I'm looking in them right now. They're good. But that's free. Like, that's a free resource. I would just use Google Sites. You can set up a very easy hierarchical Google site, and that's made a big difference for me. Number 5. I talk, I don't type. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not the fastest typer. I don't even know if that's a word. Is it typist or something? I'm not sure. I'm not fast at typing, basically, right? And the problem with that is that, life requires a lot of typing, which is why I use Text Expander for expansions. Now, I can type okay. I'm not like terrible, but do you know what I'm really good at? Talking. And many coaches are a lot better at talking than typing. And so if you know you're better at talking than typing, like, stop typing. I talk everything out. Like, the outlines for this podcast, I just talked out. I use Google Docs. Go into Google Docs and I just start the dictation. It's built into Google Docs and I type it out. If you're on Mac, you're going to hit that kind of FN, the function sign, probably twice. It's going to bring up Siri, and you're going to be able to just type straight away. You're going to be able to just go straight into it and type because you're talking, right? And so what I would recommend you to do, if this is you, is to stop typing and start talking more. That for me has changed the game. All the emails I write, I talk out. Now, obviously you can use AI. I've started using Gemini, which is AI within Gmail and all the G Suite platforms, and just getting used to that at the moment. But that's been quite good. I use AI. I'm not a complete lover of it yet. I feel like the content it produces is very bland, very general, kind of like no kind of juice in it, especially if you're using it at a simple level. And so sometimes I feel like it's easier to just kind of speak out what I want to say and then put it through AI to clean it up. That can be a really good little hack I've found, is with Gemini within Gmail. I will like talk out what I want to say, and then I just throw it into Gemini, which is within Gmail. And then I'll say, write this in informal language and take out any spelling or grammatical errors, because there's a lot of those. And then it will spit out something really good. And then I just go paste and then pop it back in. So that for me is a good little process, especially if I'm writing a lot. That is a good little process for writing things out. So everything that, even in my groups, like if I'm responding to people in my groups for my clients, I talk to every comment, or I shoot a loom for the comment. So I don't sit there and type. Every comment I talk out using Siri or using any sort of online platform that is available there. It's funny, as I'm saying that word starting with S, everything around me is starting to distract me now because it's like going, yes, Colin, what do you want to say, right? I've got my iPad here and my iPhone sitting on the side, and it's like jumping in. So maybe there was a distraction that I didn't know about. But these are 5 ideas that for me have stuck with me. Some of them are like OG fundamental ideas. Some of them are more newer ideas, especially around AI. But I want you to think about, what do you need to implement in your coaching business? We talked about make your calendar your boss, sprinting, writing the top 5 tasks. Go to dailyoutputbooster.com. Systems, having systems in place. If you don't have systems, you got to have systems. Having some little like tools and hacks that I mentioned before. And talk, don't type. Like, stop typing if you're not a good typer. So that's some productivity hacks. I hope that has been helpful. If it has been helpful, by the way, and you haven't left a review and you're on iTunes, like you listen to the podcast on Apple, could you go down and leave a written review? I'd love to read your review. We get reviews every week or so on all the different platforms, and I'd love to read your review. So if you found this valuable, please leave a review and take a screenshot of it and send it to me on Instagram, by the way, and I'll send over a free course for you, just to say thank you for leaving a review and being a listener. And also, if you know someone in the coaching industry, another course creator, another coach, and you think this could be helpful for them, why don't you hit the share button and just send it to one person, not two. Like, please don't overdo this. Just send it to one person, and I'll be stoked, because that's why I do this podcast, right? To help you, to serve you. So if you think this could be useful, hit that share button right now. Text it to one person. Because I know for me, when I get texted a podcast from my friends, I always listen to it. So please do that. That'll help out the show a lot as well. And if you're wondering how I help people and how I serve people, there are 3 things that we do. The first thing is we help you craft your story. That's a thing called your conversion story. That's the simplest way to get started with our programs. And that essentially it's a short little mini course, but don't underestimate the power of this thing, because it will literally change your life. Once you get your conversion story, it'll start your momentum towards sharing your message in a whole nother level, a whole nother way that naturally attracts people towards your courses and your programs. So you can check that out, conversionstory.com, and the link will be in the show notes. The second way is, if you already have your story and you want to go to the next level, you want to start presenting webinars and speaking, you want to speak on stage, you want to speak on virtual stages, and you want to design a signature talk that sells, you can go and check out a free workshop which shows you how to do that. If you go to colinboyd.co/workshop, I've got a workshop showing you how to sell effectively from webinars and from live stages. And so you can go and check that out. That's completely free. But that'll show you some of the structures and strategies in place to do that. And the final thing is if you're already an established coach or course creator, like you've been running your business for a couple of years, you already got some clients, but you're ready to really start scaling up, and you know that being on the stage is part of that. You feel that calling of being on the stage, whether it be a virtual stage or a live stage. Like, you know, you want to bring your message through speaking. We have a group coaching program, which is called Self from Stage Elite. And that's really where I do all my coaching, essentially. That's where I do my core coaching. And we run masterclasses and coaching and support for the students to really grow and scale up. And that's really for people who you've been in the coaching industry for a little while. Maybe you've done a few courses previously, so you're not completely new to this, and you're ready. You know you're ready. You feel it within your gut. You kind of hit a plateau. You know, it might be 3,000 a month. It might be 5,000 a month, whatever it is, 10,000 a month. You kind of hit a plateau and you're like, I know I need to go to the next level. That's what we do inside of our elite program. And if you're interested in that, finding out a bit more information, the easiest way to do that is just to go to colinboyd.co/scale. colinboyd.co/scale, and you can book in a free 15-minute, 20-minute consult with one of our head coaches. And we will just kind of have a look at your business, see what you're doing, see where you're getting stuck, have a look at your goals, and then we can chat you through all the different options and so forth in how we can help. And if we can't help, we'll point you in the right direction as well. So, you know, we'll be really honest. If we can't help you, if you're not a right fit, we'll point you in the right direction. If you are, then we'd love to share with you how it can look and so forth. So they're the 3 ways that we help you. I trust this has been valuable today, talking about productivity hacks as a coach and as a speaker, as a course creator. And thanks for being a listener of The Expert Edge. And make sure you are following the show. Bless you guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.